Sunday was Fan Appreciation Day here at Gainbridge Fieldhouse and what could be the Indiana Fever's last home game of the season. We shall see. That all depends on how the playoffs shake out, and that format, the round one, is best of three with the first two games going on the higher seed. So the Fever will be on the road for the first two. But today, with the ball in their court, the Fever won on Sunday to lock up the number 6 seed in the playoffs. So once again, the similarities to the Fever and Pacers and their seasons, they continue on. Now the Fever will face either the Minnesota Lynx or Connecticut Sun in round one. That much we do know, but you still have to wait a week for the start of the playoffs. In a high-scoring affair coming up here Saturday, the Fever trailed at half. They led by just one entering the fourth, but it was a high-scoring game. Felt like an NBA game as the Fever prevailed 110 to 109 over the Dallas Wings.
My man, I will always take 110 points. But that is just, my first note when I sat down was, you can't beat good teams giving up that many points. Really good teams that are, first, second, third, whoever we're going to play, you just can't. You can't give up that many points. You've got to find ways to get stops because that also is where we're at our best, is in transition when we get those stops.
And this high-scoring game was, of course, highlighted by so many outstanding individual performances on the offensive end. 5 players scoring at least 25 points in this one. It was Caitlin Clark erupting for 35 to give the home fans a big show on this Sunday afternoon. And something was different about her coming into this game. Maybe it was her casual dress and a hoodie. And knowing this was Fan Appreciation Day. But we were talking with her pregame, and it was just the appearance and her feel and her answers a lot more relaxed. She was a lot more loose going into this one, and you want to see more of that because she felt different and looked different out on the court, I thought, here today.
I think I was just excited to play. Anytime you get the opportunity to get out there and go play, knowing this, this was our last regular season one at home. It's fun. It's on the weekend. It's an afternoon game. Those are just better. So I don't know, once I got that first 3 go in and then made a couple after that, my shot felt pretty good, and honestly, I felt like I should have made 8 tonight. I got a couple tough rolls. I just seemed to not be able to get over the hump of really getting hot. I know I was 6 for 14, and that's pretty good, but I still feel like there was a couple there that's just how's that not go in? So
now the Fever's backcourt of Clark and Kelsey Mitchell, they combined to score 65 points in this one, right? That's about 10 less than the team scored as a group in the previous loss against the Las Vegas Aces. That's how much of a high-scoring showcase that this one was. But that backcourt, that tandem, they have just been reliable all season long. I got to imagine if you're head coach Christie Sides and her coaching staff, that's something you've really had to appreciate in a season. You like things you can count on, especially as you're trying to turn this around. They thought this would be a 4-year rebuild. Well, then you get Caitlin Clark. So it speeds it up. It accelerates where they are and where they are headed now with 20 wins on the season. But having Kelsey and having Caitlin, you can count on at least 2 players with every game.
They're special. Those 2 right there can hit such big shots. There's just ice in their veins, and they've got players around them who are helping them get open, setting good screens, and then moving the defense as well. Kelsey is, with her ability to get downhill, you have to guard her a certain way. Then she can just pull up on a dime. Caitlin's able to, get her shot off so quick, and also get downhill and get to the rim. Those guys just make big shots. They are just 2, the dynamic duo. That's who they are.
Now, individually, both Clark and Kelsey Mitchell are having terrific seasons, memorable seasons. It seems like every game out of the All-Star break and Olympic break, they've guaranteed to go for 20 points each. It feels like maybe only 1 or 2 games that they haven't, in fact. So something to keep an eye on going into the offseason and all winter long is Kelsey Mitchell, because the former first-round pick for the Fever back in 2017 hadn't experienced a winning season here, hadn't been part of anything special until this year. But now, going into the offseason, she will be a free agent for the first time. But can you imagine anyone leaving this? It doesn't get any better than this place sold out, than 38 of your 40 games on national TV. Record metrics, no matter what you judge, on jersey sales, ticket sales, merchandise, social, all that stuff. So Mitchell was saying earlier that the backcourt duo does not have a nickname yet, but they're open to your ideas.
You know, it's hard to pick and choose when, you know, both of us are on, like, at the 1 and 2 position. That just, like, puts the defense in a really tough spot. And I thought that 3 she made there in the fourth quarter was huge for us. And we could have executed a little bit better down the stretch, but I think we just really read and understand each other a lot better from where we were at the beginning of the season. Like, the amount of backdoor cuts that girl has got just because we make eye contact and she knows to go backdoor it's incredible. Like,
during this game, it was also technical foul watch for Caitlin Clark. That's because she has 6 on the season. If she picked up another one, she would automatically be suspended for the final game of the season. That's Thursday in Washington, D.C., but you can't imagine that happening, right? It's not good for anyone, not for the league, not for the team, and not for her. She's caused a movement unlike any other, especially here in the WNBA, but what she has done for young girls and young boys and just all ages. It has spanned all ages, both genders, and all those different things, and what she's able to provide. Of course, what do you know? So this is a fun story. We're taking you behind the scenes. I don't know, maybe that was just a test, but you saw the kind of the fire alarm come off briefly. Let's tell you, before the game, it was the first time in my 25 years here that I've ever seen that alarm go off. It was about 15 minutes before the game, even before Christie Sides press conference, to the point where it was delayed a couple of minutes, but fortunately no big issue. But it was a little concerning because no one was doing anything or moving here. But that's the type of stuff. Maybe that was teasing what was to come here, both on the Nets and all this high scoring, and with Caitlin Clark in particular. But back to that comment about technical fouls. That's certainly something that Caitlin and all of her teammates were well aware of entering this matchup, so much so that Caitlin got ticked off a couple times. One time in particular, I think it was in the first half, and Aaliyah Boston wrapped her up and physically moved her away from the official and flipped her, so the officials, which was a veteran crew, did not see her. Katie Lou did the same thing. Kelsey Mitchell stepped in. I like that from the teammates.
They know when she's reached that point and when we need to have a little assistance to come out there. And I appreciate that. Like, I saw Katie Lou run and just stand right in front of her. I mean, it came from, all the way, from the bench. But, that's just good team chemistry stuff.
Well, I didn't think they were going to give me a technical at any point tonight. I would have been really sad for people in Washington, D.C. I didn't want to do that. I tried my best. But my teammates do a really good job of that. They think I'm funny. They think it's funny. So, and then Aaliyah is the one that ends up with a technical. That's the best part about it all. Like, she's the one babysitting me, and then somehow she ends up with a technical. And she didn't really do anything. She was just standing there, so that's what was funny to me. But I think I did a better job. I still thought there was like a couple moments there where I could have been a little bit better.
It seems like every game Caitlin Clark's setting a new record, whether it's league or whether it's franchise record, right? When they played in Dallas in the final game before the Olympic break, she dished out 19 assists, more than any other player in league history had done. Well, in this one, with her 35-point performance, was a career high, by the way. But more than that, she's set the new record for a scoring for a rookie, surpassing Simone Augustus. And what's also notable of that is it stood for 18 years. You got to go back to 2006 when Simone Augustus set that record. And the fun storyline, too, there is the fact that Caitlin obviously grew up a Minnesota Lynx fan. It was the closest team and the team she followed most closely there in Iowa. So, teasing here, she also talked about post-game how that was the first photo and autograph that she received was from Simone Augustus of the Lynx.
And I remember when I went to my first WNBA game, Simone was I think she was the first player that I ever met when I was courtside watching them warm up before the game. It was her and Lindsay Whalen. So it comes full circle for sure. I remember I got my picture with her on my dad's little phone. It was like maybe like a BlackBerry back in the day or something like that. I don't even know. It hardly worked. But I vividly remember it. That was like the first WNBA player I ever met.
The Fever now have 1 week before the start of the playoffs. Just one regular season game remaining. That's coming up Thursday against the Mystics in Washington, D.C. We'll see how Christie Sides and the coaching staff plans to handle that. You got to play the starters some because, one, you only have one game this week, but also they've moved the game to the arena, the big arena for Caitlin Clark, obviously. So a big demand to see her and, of course, on national TV as always. But still, several things the Fever can shore up over this last week, so they'll have to strike a balance between worrying about themselves, which I think is primary, and secondly, already scouting ahead. In the next day or so, they should know their opponent, while also acknowledging, hey, you got a game Thursday, let's go handle your business there. I think it was a good thing for this team to see what they've been able to do on the defensive end since the Olympic break. They made a ton of strides on that end of the floor. And then offensively, after hanging with the Aces despite back-to-back losses, to pour in 110 in this game, in this shootout, and to win, and they kept their turnovers down much more so than they have in usual games. Those are all highlights and all things that they can build upon. And after this win, they're now 20-19. That guarantees them a 500 record for the first time with 20 wins since 2015. That's the Tamika Catchings era and such, which all things seemingly go back to. They reached the playoffs, 12 straight years during that era. She's a Hall of Famer. Her banner's hanging up in the rafters here at the Fieldhouse. But I thought it was also cool, a great way to send the fans off, final home game or not, but with a win in record fashion.
Oh man, it's a big deal. I've never accomplished something personally like that. So, hats off to our group. Hats off to the season so far. I say so far because, I look forward to hopefully a really good run for us in the playoffs. So I'm excited about the 20 wins. I'm grateful. I know where I started and I know where I'm at now. So,
when I took the job and you kind of made a plan, it was more of a 4-year plan. And in year 2, never would have thought we would have picked up these 20 wins.
So now the Fever conclude the regular season on the road Thursday in Washington, D.C. against the Mystics, who struggled out of the gates but have really played well here over the last month or so, like the Fever since the Olympic break. But Fever, a 20-win season, a breakout showing from Caitlin Clark today. Kelsey Mitchell, ever so good. Chemistry improving throughout. And it's just too bad the season's nearing an end because it feels like the Fever right now are ready to take off. Reporting from Gainbridge Fieldhouse, I'm Scott Agness for FieldhouseFiles.com.